Check out all these before and after pictures. Now, say the person on the left hired me in each of these scenarios and I said, guess what? You're gonna train really hard for the next couple years and you're not gonna lose any weight. Your weight's gonna stay the same. Chances are every one of these people would have fired me because in their heads, they need to lose weight. They need to cut their calories. They need to starve themselves and do tons of cardio to lean out. When in actuality, they didn't change their calories. They ate at a maintenance, increased their strength, and look at the results. This, my friends, is recomping at its finest. In this video, I'm going to teach you about recomping, and I'm going to make the case that a lot of people should in fact just be recomping. You don't need to be on an endless bulking and cutting cycle. Just get to a comfortable body weight where you're okay with the way you look and then try to get stronger over time.
Take one.
So there's three typical scenarios in strength training. Scenario one, you want to gain weight, you got to eat more calories, you're bulking. Scenario two, you want to lose weight, so you consume less calories, you're cutting. And a much lesser known scenario is where you just want to stay the same weight, but improve your body composition. Well, that's called recomping. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because scenario 1 and 2 are so much more popular than scenario 3, and in reality, they should all be equal. They're all equally viable strategies depending on the goal of the lifter. In high school, when I first started lifting, I was so skinny. I was a scrawny little sophomore in high school. I weighed like 135 pounds. Over the next 2 years, I grew 8 inches and gained 70 pounds through lifting weights and mainly through eating more. I was so active back then, I had to stuff my face in order to gain weight.
Smells chocolatey, eh? Now, eat it.
You know, I'd make these get big shakes at night where I just throw everything into a blender and then drink as much as I could before I went to sleep. And then I'd wake up in the middle of the night to pee and I'd finish the rest of it off. That was an extra 1,500 calories that I consumed while most people were sleeping. Now, eventually I got to a point where I was chunky. You know, I had a belly. And at first it was like, this is kind of cool. I'm not skinny anymore. People are making fun of me for being fat. And at least I'm not skinny. And then I realized I don't like this either. So I chilled out on the junk food, but I actually didn't lose weight. I just kept lifting weights hard and eventually I lost my belly. Well, what happened? I recomped. Now these days I hover at around 250 pounds. I'm not very lean, but when I want to be lean, I lose 15 pounds. I get down to about 235. I have abs again, therefore I'm cutting. So there exists this huge misconception out there that you should always be either in a bulking phase or a cutting phase, that's gonna maximize your results. Now here's the theoretical rationale. You don't want your body fat too low, that's not good for gaining muscle. And so you need to get your body fat levels up to optimal levels, and this will put you in a better state for building muscle. So during the bulking phase, you built as much muscle as possible. Then you do, say, a 8-week cutting phase where you try to shed off the fat and hold on to as much muscle as possible. But once you cut down, you're again too lean for building muscle, so you bulk up again. Here's the problem with that. Most people never get too lean to where they can't optimally build muscle. I'm not aware of any research on this topic, and it probably depends on the individual, but I would think that below 10% body fat for men and probably below 15% body fat for women would not lend themselves to optimal muscle building environments, optimal hormonal milieu inside the body that's conducive to building muscle. So let's forget about bodybuilding, okay? Because that's what bodybuilders do and it works well. We don't need to base what we do with the average person, the majority of the population on what bodybuilders do, because bodybuilders are the genetic elite who also happen to be taking the most amount of gear.
That's it? Work harder. Oh, Adrian's a little juice. What up, DL?
They're not representative of Joe and Jane public. So here's the scenario. Most of my female clients come to me, they tend to look pretty good already. Say the woman is 5'7" and weighs 135. She will come to me and say, I want to lose fat, I want to get lean. But here's the deal. If I just say, okay, I'm going to put you on a big deficit and I'm going to give you a ton of cardio and you're going to lose 15 pounds, you're going to drop to 120 in the next 2 months, she would not end up liking the way she looks. She wouldn't be satisfied once she got there. She'd get to 120 and she'd still have too much body fat and too little shape for her liking. That's based on my experience as a trainer. So if I would tell the client at that point in time, you know what, you're gonna lift with me for the whole year and you're not gonna change in body weight whatsoever. You're gonna stay 135 the whole time. They'd probably walk out the door and wouldn't come back because their minds couldn't envision what they were gonna look like 1 year later when they were much stronger. But that tends to be what happens. They'll stay 135 the whole year. They tend to eat the right amount of calories. I'll just make sure that they're eating enough protein, you know, around 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. So I try to say, try to eat, you know, between 120 and 135 grams of protein a day. You know, they might have to drink a whey protein shake or supplement or just make sure they're eating 4 meals with protein per day, but I typically won't adjust their calories. I won't even give them instructions to eat less or more. So I just adjust the protein and then I get them stronger. So throughout the year, you know, say they come to me relatively untrained. Maybe they start out hip thrusting 95 pounds. They start off squatting 65 pounds to parallel. You know, they start off deadlifting like 95 pounds with bumper plates. They can't do a chin up. They might start off bench pressing the bar for like 12 reps. And if I give them military press with the bar, they might struggle to just get a couple reps. 12 months later, they're hip thrusting 315 pounds for 15 reps. They're squatting 175 for 5. They're deadlifting 225 for 5. You know, they can do 5 chin-ups and they can bust out 20 reps in the military press with the bar. It's gonna require a lot more muscle to carry out those feats of strength. So if they packed on all that muscle, but they didn't change on the scale, you know, their body weight stayed the same, and they packed down, say, 8 pounds of muscle throughout the year, that would mean that they lost 8 pounds of fat. You know, they simultaneously gained muscle and lost fat. And this might translate to like a 5 or 6% reduction in body fat percentage. You know, let's say they start off at 21% body fat, now maybe they're 15% body fat. And that muscle has curve. That muscle is packed on in places where you want it. You know, your delts, your glutes, you know, you have nice shapely leg muscles. And the fat is typically lost off the problem areas, you know, around the midsection, the thighs, the love handles, the back of the arms. Now you're left with a leaner appearance. You look very athletic and strong. And most importantly, you're a smaller version of your former self. At equal weights, muscle takes up around 15 to 20% less space than fat. So picture like a human body, but like an anatomy chart, you know, muscular anatomy chart. And the muscles are in red and the fat is in yellow, okay? And then you take 8 more pounds of the red and place them in strategic areas, and you take away 8 pounds of the yellow and you take them off of the problem areas, and you'll have to take off more yellow than red because, again, fat is less dense than muscle, so it takes up more space. And you're left with a big visual change. It's commonly said in our industry that the only people who can successfully recomp are either A, total beginners, B, people returning from a long layoff of lifting, you know, because of muscle memory, you know. Say you took the last 6 months off lifting, well, yeah, you can recomp quickly because of muscle memory. And C, people taking anabolic steroids. But in my experience, I take even very advanced lifters who have good physiques and are very strong, and I recomp them when they start training with me. And when they start training with me, they recomp. They get leaner, they get stronger, they gain muscle, they lose fat, they get leaner. Another category that isn't mentioned is people who tend to get really focused. You know, say they have a wedding coming up or a photo shoot or a competition, or like me, a 40th birthday where I just said, you know what? I'm making lifting my #1 goal. I recomped at age 39, even though I had been lifting since I was 15. 24 years into lifting, I was still able to recomp because I made it my #1 focus. So far this has all been theoretical, but let me show you some anecdotes from just this year in my gym. I've been talking about recomping for quite some time now. For like the past 5 years or so, I've really been preaching the benefits of recomping. But I just posted this on June 12th. And this is my client, Ashley Hodge. 2 years ago, she weighed 135 pounds, and today she weighs 135 pounds. During that time, her squat went from 200 to 250 pounds, so she put 50 pounds on her squat. Bench went from 140 pounds to 170 pounds, so she put 30 pounds on her bench. Her deadlift went from 275 pounds to 405 pounds, so she put 130 pounds on her deadlift. Military press went from 85 pounds to 101 pounds, so she put on 16 pounds on her 1 rep max military press. Her max chin went from 25 pound extra weight to 75 pounds, so she put 50 pounds on her weighted chin. And her max hip thrust was 365 pounds, now it's 600 pounds, so that's 245 pounds on her hip thrust in 2 years. All right, so what does this look like? See for yourself. I mean, these changes are incredible. Now let's see what Ashley looks like trying on her pair of jeans from 2 years ago. As you can see, look at that gap. These used to fit her fine. You see this crazy gap, thereby demonstrating that recomping makes you smaller. I'm gonna say 2 different statements that you need to think about these, okay? You need to let this sink in. The smallest you can possibly be at any given body weight is when you're the strongest you can possibly be at that body weight. Put another way, no matter what weight you are, the stronger you are, the smaller you'll be. For example, right now I'm 250 pounds. If I could squat 100 more pounds, bench press 100 more pounds, deadlift 100 more pounds, I would have to have more muscle on me. But I'm 250 pounds, so I'd have to have less fat. I would be a smaller version of myself even at 250 pounds. Well, what if I weighed 200 pounds? Again, the stronger I was at 200 pounds, the leaner and smaller overall I'd be. So strength training makes you smaller at any given body weight. I want to tell you a funny little story about my client, Alexis. On May 9th, I posted this video showing off her victory. She competed in bikini, she won first in her class. In the final 2.5 weeks of prep, she stayed the same body weight, she stayed 98 pounds. So we didn't lose any weight from 2.5 weeks out to the day of the show. But I realized that she was really weak. She hadn't been pushing herself as hard as she does when I'm there. So I went back to San Diego and busted her butt for 2.5 weeks. She ended up setting PRs on everything. During those 2.5 weeks, she went from hip thrusting 225 for 3 to 275 for 5. But everything went up. Her chin-ups, her military press, her bench press, her squats, her stiff leg deadlifts, everything went up. So during those 2.5 weeks, she lost 1.5 inches on her thighs. This was just 2.5 weeks, and the difference was very noticeable. So recomping can happen rather quickly if you do it right. And there are numerous examples. For example, here's something I posted 3 days ago on June 21st. This is my Booty by Brett member, Sydney Squats. She weighs 125 pounds in both pics, the left and the right. What happened during that time period? She got way stronger. She trains really hard, she's gotten very strong, and you can see the increased confidence. So how many people would look like her before picture on the left and say, I'm gonna take the next 2 years to just get as strong as possible and try to stay the same weight on the scale? My guess is not that many. Most people say, I need to cut, I need to starve myself, I need to do tons of cardio, and I need to lose a bunch of weight. But Sydney stuck it out, she had patience, and she was rewarded. Look at the results. So I'll leave you with one final story. Almost 5 years ago, I turned 40 years old. And my birthday is July 26th, but right at the beginning of the new year in January, I started planning a blog post for my 40th birthday. So I was 39 and a half, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna spend the next 6 months training hard as hell, making lifting my #1 priority, going for PRs, making sure I'm well rested. I'm gonna make my workouts numero uno instead of my business or my social life. So I trained so hard during those 6 months. I set PRs in every single lift. I stayed 238 pounds for 6 straight months. My weight only varied 4 pounds throughout the year. I originally was gonna try to get down to 225 pounds, which is what I weighed in 2015 when I got really lean, but I was so hungry. I was trying to be on a deficit and do more walking, but I just couldn't control my appetite. I suffered, but I guess I didn't suffer too much. Nevertheless, I ended up looking way better. I knew I was going to take pictures for my 40th birthday, and I was very proud of my look. This was before my gray beard hair set in. My beard was majestic. And I looked like a lumberjack, So there's no research that I'm aware of indicating that bulking and cutting is a superior strategy to recomping. It does have a good theoretical basis, especially when you get down to really low body fat levels. The problem is most people never get to those really low body fat levels. They don't ever need to bulk and cut. They can just recomp. This is especially important for people who don't like the way they look while they're bulking. A lot of women I know, they're like, man, I hate this. Why do I have to be bulking? And guys, we tend to be better at accepting the bulk. I can look in the mirror and I completely ignore this area. My eyes don't even recognize this belly I have here. I will look in the mirror and be like, check out those pecs. Look at these traps. Look at that. Look at those delt gains. Look at these quads.
I knew early on I was not most people.
And I know that it's temporary. I know that I can lose this belly in a few months. But I don't know many women that are like, look at these trap gains. Look at Trapzilla, I wish more women just got as strong as possible and let the chips fall where they may in terms of physique. My squad now, they're so strong, and I love how athletic and strong they look. I'm not in charge of their physiques, they are. You know, if they say to me, I don't like, my traps are getting too big for my liking, or my back is too big or something, I hate it. I hate having to cut out deadlifts or something, or no more lateral raises or something, because I love what those exercises do for other muscles as well. So in summary, bulking is cool, cutting is cool, recomping is cool. Use the right tool for the right job, and just know that recomping is a viable strategy. I think more people should do it. Do you need to bulk and cut? No, you don't. You can recomp. All right, that's a wrap. If you liked the video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Please make sure you hit like. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. I know I've been on a little lull lately, but I do plan to get back into things regularly and post 1 to 2 videos every week. I've been working very hard, but Alex, I don't know what happened to my camera guy. I think he had mono for like 3 months or something. He had long COVID. Alex threw a tantrum, I'm sorry. We've been working on a certification, planning a documentary, filming content for BC Strength Equipment, and we've even been expanding Booty by Brett. So my camera guy Alex has been very busy, but a lot of that's cleared up, so we should be back in business. And feel free to leave a comment, tell me what you'd like to hear from me. I'm always open to new ideas. For example, I always post about glutes, but I know a lot about the other muscles in the body. I know a lot about a lot of different topics in strength and conditioning. I always try to serve my niche, but I'm thinking about branching out. All right, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw in this video and you want to train under my system and principles, then I invite you to click on the link below and subscribe to Booty by Brett and join the thousands of other happy members who are seeing amazing results.